they're quite inclusive. The ability to translate the moral purpose into action is a consequence of quite highly reflective, carefully planned and implemented approaches. Say the high degree of internal consistency, constantly looking for ways to improve further, and they have obviously outstanding and well-distributed leadership. The leadership issue is absolutely fundamental because, as I say, I think on this slide, is that all the evidence is the quality of leadership is second only to classroom instruction as a determinant of kids' success, particularly in these schools. And these are the types of characteristics that these principles have, and we'll talk about these principal characteristics as we go through the day. The one that worries me is this last one here, tireless energy, particularly at the end of a Friday. When I was typing these slides, rather jet lagged over the weekend, I was thinking, oh gosh. But you know what I mean by those, and that sort of profile is sort of we're pretty familiar with. So if you just look at the sort of the stuff that Vic showed us on and got us to talk about on Wednesday, very, very similar stuff. All right, perhaps slightly different use of phrasing, but the concepts are absolutely the same. All right, and those are the sustaining factors that Vic again got us to discuss on Wednesday. So what I'm trying to take you on this is that I'm making the proposition that actually it doesn't really matter whether you're in Birmingham or in Melbourne, whether it's Preston in Victoria or Preston in England. The sorts of challenges and responses are pretty much the same. I actually think that there's not that much difference between primary and secondary schools either. There are issues to do with scale, I think, but in terms of presenting issues and overall strategies, we're talking about the same type of territory. And that's why I'm fairly confident that we can actually develop a notion of practice amongst us here, which will travel reasonably well. So, if we, if you sort of are with me so far, right? I guess then the questions are, well, how are these schools doing it? How do they keep doing it? And what do they do, from here? And what I want to spend most of the time this morning on is talking about this first question, how they achieved excellence. We'll talk a little bit later on this afternoon about sustaining excellence and sharing excellence, but I think what I really want to do is to keep the emphasis here this morning on achieving excellence, although we will address these two other issues later on. And it's not surprising, I think, for what in terms of what I've just been saying, is that there are a number of themes that have emerged which are common to most of all of these schools. And again, it's the attention to the quality of teaching and learning, the assessment and tracking of students' progress, target setting, support and intervention, attracting teachers and growing leaders. All right. Now, in many ways, all right, this is the old stuff that we've been talking about over the last year and a bit. Right. This is what Lena was referring to when she introduced this morning. These are the ingredients of school improvement. We're familiar with this. All right. The challenge now is how do we mix that recipe, right, for our own schools? That's the trick. We can see lots of bullet points about, from the work of Vic and Graham, but how do we actually make that operational inside our schools? And when you read down on this paragraph here, that the success of these schools is not due simply to what they do. The fact it's rigorously distilled and applied good practice, cleverly selected and modified to fit the needs of the school. All right? So the debate, I think, is not so much about how do you teach and how do you learn. The debate for us as leaders is how do you put those together and make them fit and work in your own school, right? That's the practice bit. That's what, that's what I can't tell you to do. That's what you are the world's experts in your schools. That's why we have to co-construct this.